This is crazy. But what I'm about to show you guys is crazy, okay? Hello folks, and welcome to another awesome episode. In today's episode, I'm going to be installing a Banks Monster Ram intake. I'm going to tell you in today's video of why I'm doing this and how I arrived at this, the problems that were leading up to this, and how I found the problem. So it's going to be a really interesting video today. I wanted to share this information with you guys because what I thought happened was kind of weird in my diagnostics and that kind of thing. So we're gonna have a little story time, and then we're gonna jump into it and get that intake switched over, and then keep our fingers crossed that everything's gonna be back to normal. All right guys, to start off, I'm no diesel mechanic. Never claimed to be. In fact, this is my first diesel truck I've ever owned in my life. I haven't even had it a year. So a lot of this stuff I'm kind of learning as I go. So if I make mistakes or call something the wrong name or whatever, just post down in the comments below, and we can kind of learn together. So this kind of starts back about 3 or 4 weeks ago. We took this truck down to Central Oregon, my buddy and I, and we towed his boat all the way down there, all the way back up. Pretty long trip, put some miles on the truck, and got to tow with it for the first time. I was super impressed. Everything was pretty much flawless, except my EGTs, my exhaust gas temperatures, I thought were a little high on some of the grades we were climbing. We did go over the Mount Hood Pass through government camp, and then back down into the, the high desert or whatever, and then we came right back through there again coming back. And we were towing the boat with the canopy up, so we were getting, that was affecting our fuel mileage, I'm sure. We still managed to get over 16 miles to the gallon on the way back, which was decent in my opinion. The boat probably weighed around 4,000 pounds, give or take a little bit. I'm not sure exactly. We never weighed it or anything, but yeah, the truck did decent. It did get a little warm on some of the pulls on the grades, and that's because my fan clutch is bad. I'm almost positive it is. So that's next on the list, is replacing my fan clutch, because I also think that's affecting my AC or whatever. So anyways, fast forward to after the trip, and I was driving the truck around town. I was actually going to pick up a lawnmower, and it just didn't feel as peppy to me. It kind of felt like it was losing power a little bit, and I really didn't think much of it. I kind of just kept it in the back of my head or whatever, and I was like, yeah, okay, we'll just see what happens. And then my wife drove it for a day, and she didn't really say anything. And then we loaded up some stuff last weekend, Sunday, to go out. We were going to go out with some friends and stuff, loaded the truck up, turned the truck on, and there was a check engine light on. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. So we drove it down to the freeway, and I tried to get on the freeway, and there was just nothing. There was no power, no nothing. So I have an Edge tuner in it, and I was kind of just monitoring that on the way back. And basically what was going on is it won't let the motor put more than a 34% load in any mode. There's like 6 different modes on the Edge, and it wasn't making any boost, like 0 boost. So, and the truck would only get up to like 40 miles an hour, and it was shifting kind of weird too. So got home and I read the codes, and I got the code P0299 and started researching that and whatever. So that's turbo boost pressure, related to turbo boost pressure, and it's related to these 2 sensors. And from what I've read, these 2 sensors, they coincide together and they kind of work hand in hand. And there's supposed to be a sensor right after the air cleaner, and then there's a sensor that mounts on the intake manifold. And the one that mounts on the intake manifold is the one that is sensing how much boost is being made, okay? The one on the air cleaner, according to my knowledge, is basically just kind of measuring the temperature, so it can combine those together to get all the mixtures and ratios right and everything, right? It's not really, in my understanding, the front sensor is not necessarily a mass airflow sensor. And so when I'm researching this and looking through everything and listening to people and calling people for the part and whatnot, they kept asking me, is this before or after the air cleaner? Or is it the one by the air cleaner, or is it the one by the intake manifold? And I kept telling them I don't have one on my air cleaner. I have a K&N intake. You guys will see here in a sec. What I did is I bought the boost, it's a boost MAF something rather sensor. It's kind of expensive. I had to pay $180 for the sensor. It mounts to the intake manifold. It's real simple. It takes you like 5 minutes to replace, okay? So I bought that. I was pretty confident. I was like, okay, maybe the sensor went out. It's not reading the boost, blah, 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 blah. So I put the sensor in. I tried to clear the codes. I still couldn't clear the codes. And put the sensor in, nothing changed. I drove it around the block, still wasn't making boost. Check engine light was still on, code still wouldn't clear. I shut it off, I cycled the engine a couple times, still couldn't get it, nothing changed, right? So I was at 180 bucks. on the sensor. So I was kind of sitting here scratching my head thinking, you know, what the deal was. And I remember from doing the K&N air cleaning maintenance that there was a little K&N air filter mounted that you guys, I'll show you here in a minute, and that had some wires running out of it. And I kind of thought, that's odd, that's weird, you know. So that is the sensor that they are talking about that is in the air cleaner, okay? But on mine, it's not. It's just mounted basically to a piece of thing that blocks off the air cleaner, kind of. Doesn't make any sense to me, really. So I guess what that gauge does, or what that sensor does, is it just reads the ambient air temperature, the air temperature that's going into the intake. There's no flow meter, there's no nothing, unless my truck has that tuned out. I highly doubt that. I just think it's an air temperature reader. And so what I did is I came back out and I pulled the little K&N thing off, and it's kind of greasy and gooey and grimy, and I cleaned that sensor really well. I didn't replace it, I just cleaned it really well, because I started reading a lot of times that these guys were cleaning these sensors on the intake manifold, and that's what I should have done first. I should have tried to clean the sensor first before I went and spent $180. So if you guys are having that code, try cleaning the sensors first before you go buy new ones. Clean the front sensor by the air cleaner, and went to start the truck up, and everything changed instantly. I could hear the turbo spooling, because you can hear the turbo spooling at idle, because I have a really big exhaust. It might have something to do with it. And instantly had my boost back. So I drove it around town, and I was very excited. I thought, oh my gosh, I just fixed it by cleaning a stupid sensor. And so I was, you know, like I said, excited. So I took the truck, I drove it to work, was monitoring the, you know, the gauges, whatever, and the fuel mileage. And I thought the fuel mileage seemed a little bit better than typical, you know. So when I drive it at home, you know, I went ahead and took the freeway home, and I was climbing up a grade with it, you know, and I was just seeing, you know, how it felt and whatnot. And I was watching the boost gauge, you know, because I've seen that boost gauge get over 35 PSI before. I think I've seen it over 40 before, actually. So I know that the turbo can make some boost. And so I kind of just punch it, you know, I'm locked up and forth, and it downshifted on me and didn't feel like it was doing anything. And I'm like, what in the world? So I was looking at the boost gauge. I was only making 14, 15 pounds of boost. And I'm thinking, there's a problem. So on the way on, when I got off the freeway, like every stop sign, I was just gunning it to see and watching the RPMs come up and seeing the boost. I could not get over 15 pounds of boost. So I knew there was something going on there. I kept telling myself, you know, I have to do a boost leak test. I have to do a boost leak test. And it's weird. I don't know how these happened, or if they were happening in stages, or if the gauge being dirty was totally unrelated to what I'm about to show you guys. But what I'm about to show you guys is crazy, okay? What I found is crazy. And I found it by doing a boost leak. And it took me a while too, because I kept doing the boost leak and I couldn't find anything. And finally, for fun, I sprayed it on the intake horn. Let's go take a look. All right, guys, so I have my intake off right now. And you can see down in there my homemade boost leak detector. And I didn't put a gauge in it because I think the gauge is somewhat unnecessary, whatever. Wasn't trying to hold a specific pound for whatever, and I can use the gauges on my compressor, the regulator I have on my compressor. So there's that. And if you guys want to do this, it's super easy. You just need a little ball valve, 3-inch cap, just black PVC or whatever it is, fits right in there, clamps up pretty good. You should probably get a 90, because you can see it's in there on an angle, because right there the hose fitting hits or whatever, the oil filter. So anyways, coming up here, there's the sensor I was talking about. You guys can see it's just mounted right here to this little plate, and then this right here, this little air cleaner, just slides over it like so. So that was a bit interesting to me, and like I said, I'm learning here. So if you guys know anything about that sensor, if it's supposed to be in the airflow, there's no mount for it on my intake tube, which you guys will see in a sec. All right, so here's my intake horn, you guys, and I, for the life of me, cannot find what brand this is, where it came from, what it is. We bought the truck with this, and I'm 99.9% positive it's plastic. Okay, so this is, in my opinion, this is a very bad design, because this right here is a heating grid, and there's heating elements in there. And so if you look closely, you can see where they meet up, the plate and the pipe meet up, it's melted. And you could actually take your hand, and I can move this up and down. You can see this move up and down. And you can see there's almost a hole in there, which is absurd. That's crazy. I don't know if that was getting bigger over time and just I'm losing more boost over time, or what was going on, or taking that boat down to Central Oregon and back, just kind of really hammered it, you know, because we've got a good heat cycle in it. I'm not 100% sure, but when I sprayed the bubbles on that area, man, it was just pouring out bubbles everywhere. So definitely huge boost leak there. So then I started researching intake elbows, whatever you call them. And that was kind of fun too. I actually called the dealership just to get an idea of what they would cost brand new, like a stock one. And they don't even make the part anymore, it's discontinued. I called Napa, they can't get it, it's not in their system either. So if you're trying to get a stock replacement, you're gonna be buying one used off eBay or something, because I did find a couple on eBay. I also found some cheap aftermarket ones on eBay and Amazon, and I actually had it in my cart and I was getting ready to pull the trigger. And I started reading some of the comments on them. You know, I just started thinking, like, I don't want to put that cheap China stuff on my truck. It's just, you know, people were saying that the dipstick tube hole doesn't line up correctly, and they had to tie strap it to the tube, and some of them had to cut the tube, and I'm just, you know, that kind of stuff. You could probably get it to work and it may look cool, but there's absolutely zero research going in to what it's doing for the engine, whether it be pro or cons, right? And I just, you know, when I got this truck, I was watching a lot of videos, and one of the YouTube channels that really got my attention is the Banks channel. And if you guys own a diesel, you got to go over to the Banks channel and watch some of those videos. The research and development that's done on their products is second to none. I mean, there's no comparison, even down to their diff covers. Like, you guys running the aftermarket diff covers and stuff, it's all hogwash. In fact, it's causing more issues than the stock diff cover does. You know, they put those big thin things on there, they think they're cool. I mean, I learned that right out of the gate by watching this channel. And so I also started learning about these intake elbows, and I said, you know what, I'm just gonna bite the bullet and get the good one. That way I don't have to worry about anything. And I know that the proper research and development went into the product. So I'm really looking forward to installing this thing. We're gonna get that old horn taken off right now, and I'm hoping I'm gonna get all my boost back, and it should be better performing. I should have more flow, and it's supposed to be easier for the turbo to spool up because it creates less back pressure or something. I don't know all the details on that stuff, but so you're supposed to get about 1 pound to 1.5 pounds more just by adding this horn. So it's going to be an upgrade on top of fixing a problem. So like I said, super excited. Let's jump into it. Okay, so the first thing I did was disconnect the negative on both the batteries, and looks like we got some 1/2 inch or 13 millimeter bolts right there I'm going to take out. And I believe we have to take out the studs too, so I don't know if those are going to come out, those studs or whatever. So we're going to get those out, and then we're just going to loosen these clamps up here, get this dipstick mount off, and then there's some wires that bolt to the bottom. There's like a little hanger here that we're going to take off. So let's do it. Just a 10 millimeter back there. Kind of in a weird spot. I'm not sure if you guys caught that, but I was just trying to lift this up and the whole thing is just breaking off. This is crazy. Let's take a look at that. You can see how it's all melted inside. This is unbelievable. And it's definitely plastic. And look how small it gets right here. I don't see any brands or anything on it either. You guys can see down in there. That don't look too good. Hopefully none of that melted plastic got down in there. Doesn't look like it did, but I don't know. This is just complete crap. All right, there she is. This is unbelievable. I can't believe I'm seeing this. There's definitely some pieces that fell. I'm gonna get my shop vac and suck all that stuff up before I even take the heater grid off. All right, now I'm trying to get the heater grid off because I know this kit's coming with a new gasket down here. And I know these studs gotta come out anyways. You need to get the studs out to remove the heater block. Anyways, these seem really tight and they're kind of rusty, making me a little nervous. I was double nutting them, trying to extract them. So I'm gonna let them soak in some WD-40 here, and hopefully that'll calm my nerves. Okay, as you can see, I got 2 of the studs out, and this is really nerve-wracking because they're super tight. I've got this one loose, but I'm just keeping it in there to kind of support the heater to give this one more support. This one's giving me problems. I'm just gonna send it right now, and hopefully, you know, I've been soaking them in WD-40 and giving them some taps. Nice solid taps. It seems to help, you know, break threads loose sometimes. Ooh, I think I seen that one turn. Got it. Oof. All right, it's coming out. These things are super tight and rusty. Oh, somebody's here. Oh yeah. Hear that, Cummins? Cummins in them FedEx trucks. Look at that. All right, guys, I got the studs mounted. There's a torquing procedure and all that. My phone battery, or my phone is just going dead. It's so hot out here. It's almost 100 degrees. And now the sun's beating down on our back. So I'm gonna throw that gasket on there and throw the elbow on there, make sure it mates up to my existing tube down there. So there she is, baby. Banks Monster Ram installed. All that's left to do is reinstall the battery cables and take her for a test drive. So I'm about to do that. This was a pretty awesome install, very straightforward, very basic, easy. Pretty much anybody that can turn a wrench can do this. Got the new ground wire installed. Not sure what that's all about, but I did it. There's no mount for these wires under here, so you just kind of tie strap them back there and whatnot. But yeah, everything lined up great, as you can see. So I'm gonna get these battery cables hooked up and take her for a trip around the block and report back. Well, folks, I think that's gonna wrap up today's video on 2005 Dodge Cummins. I really like this truck. It's been a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. It's fun to drive. It's just a really unique truck. You know, it's got a really unique engine in it. Basically like a farm tractor engine that they put in a pickup truck. It's a really unique idea. It's a really unique truck. And I'm glad that I was able to get my hands on an older one that doesn't have all the smog and DEF stuff. This is a really great year to have. I kind of wish it was a manual transmission, but anyways, the Banks power ram horn, a great install. The truck feels completely different now. Obviously, it's after what you guys seen, it's going to feel different. One thing I didn't notice, I'm not saying you guys would notice this, but the throttle response is way better. Like, you barely have to give it any throttle for it to take off now. Whereas before, you'd have to like stab it. I always like, for some reason, I always say, oh, stab the throttle on this truck. It was weird. So you'd stab the throttle and like get it going, right? And you'd back off. On now, you can just touch it and it just starts going. So the response is there right out of the gate. I got all my boost back. Runs really good. I learned a lot about this truck by doing this, and I hope that you guys learned from this video. And again, if you guys have any questions or comments, put them down below in the comment section. If you guys know anything about that plastic intake, let me know. If you guys have any questions about the install, I know that you know, this video is not about installing the horn. It's about my issues and what I found and what led up to everything. So there's a lot of videos on how to install it. It's 4 studs and 4 bolts basically in a clamp. So super easy to install. It looks really cool too. I like the way it looks. And yeah, I'm just all around happy, man. The truck's back to smoking tires and rolling coal. So happy camper here. So until next time, folks, have a good one.